You're listening to Prosper in the Kingdom, the podcast where faith meets practical strategies to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Join hosts John Cleaver and Wendy Lee as they share insights to equip you in your journey toward abundance, spiritually, financially, and beyond. Just a reminder, every situation is unique. The content of this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be taken as specific financial or medical advice.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Prosper in the Kingdom. I'm your host, John C., with the ever cool Wendy Lee. Wendy, how are you doing today?
How are you doing? Well, good to be here.
Good deal, good deal. Yeah, we had the opportunity to go see Justin Prince, who, if you don't know who he is, you should follow him on social media. Entrepreneur, motivational speaker, published author, great guy. And we had a chance to learn from him over the weekend in Utah. But unfortunately, because of everything that was going on weather-wise, we ended up getting stuck in Utah for a few extra days. And literally just got back last night to ice in down trees in Nashville and just generally cold weather and a bunch of gremlins in our technology. So there may some stuff may come across as we're doing this episode today, but just bear with us and take the good, leave the bad, and let's go. So today we're still going on the 3M, but we're talking a little bit crazy, right? A little bit different. So what we're talking about today is why smart people abandon their financial plans when pressure hits. So again, we're here to help everyday people just like you become healthy, wealthy, and wise in their financial house through practical biblical stewardship. So let's kind of jump into this. Really looking at what's going on with people. Why do they go off? Why do they go off kilter? Right? Most people who blow up their financial plans, it's not because they're reckless. They're not lazy. And they're not usually uninformed. They've kind of got the basics and know what to do and things like that. And I've been guilty of this. I don't know, Wendy, if you've ever kind of hit pause or jumped off the track, so to speak, with your financial plan when pressure hit. But, when pressure hits, it's almost like everything changes. Everything's in the wind, right? You stop investing, you rate accounts. I've even done that, not proud to admit it. But back in the day, after a layoff, I grabbed a chunk of change out of my 401k, and I know I'm not the only one out there that's done that. They abandoned the plans, the very plan that they built for themselves and believed in. And that's what we're talking about today. It's most financial plans don't fail on paper. They fail under pressure, right?
Yeah. I mean,
go ahead.
I think a lot of people have gone through that. I mean, I hear it all the time we were in a great financial position and then, something happens and life shifts and get behind and feel like you're starting over. So it's not alone.
It's called. No, and that's the key right there. And I'm glad you said that, Wendy. I mean, you're not alone. It happens. I mean, it's like everything, right? Plans look great when conditions are calm. Income steady, especially we work a lot of network marketing clients, income steady, expenses are predictable, markets are cooperating, things like that. And it's easy to steer that ship when you're in calm waters. But real life doesn't operate in calm waters, calm conditions, right? Pressure shows up, job changes, income changes, right? For our network marketers out there, maybe you have some medical issues. I've got a real close friend of mine going through some serious medical stuff, and it's not cheap, right? Family needs, something happens, maybe a kid loses a job or something like that. You got market volatility, which the market's been doing pretty good lately, but there's a correction on the horizon. And you got unexpected expenses that pop up. Maybe, your AC goes out or your heat. Obviously we're having a lot of heaters and heat pumps are at maximum capacity right now with the cold weather going through. But that's what happens when that pressure hits. People don't calmly revisit their spreadsheets. What happens? They react, right? It's like, oh my gosh, it's like, what do I do? They go into survival mode. And that's really when those good plans start to unravel. And it's not, again, these are smart people just like you, right? And I'd like to think that, but it's when those good plans start to unravel, when that pressure hits, not because they were bad plans, it's because they were never built to support that behavior under stress, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And
when that,
yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can't go. You're good.
Okay.
Like I said, folks, we got some gremlins in the machine this morning. Our systems are a little cold too. So
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know if the internet waves are frozen. But anyway, yeah, when we have a plan, that's one thing, like you said, in calm waters. But when you get that pressure coming on you, people react, right? Money is a lot about emotion. And under stress, we stop thinking like in years and long term, and we start thinking about the days and getting that short term relief. And I know I got stuck in a cycle, especially as an entrepreneur, where it was like, got a little behind, some things came up. And then I started, instead of doing what I knew would create the income, I started to go in panic mode and what can I do today? And I started thinking short term, and it just set me more months behind because I wasn't and honestly trusting God and what he's called me to do. I was thinking I needed to, use my own effort and energy and shift. So, but even, smart people will say things, like, I just need to get through this time. Like, I'm going to make excuses for this behavior because I just need to get through this, or I'll fix it later. Or once, I get back on track, then I can start to, put money back in that account. Or, and people use debt aggressively instead of leaning on a plan that they've created. Right. And so when you have that pressure on you financially, you get stuck in that narrow perspective, and, it feels like you're being buried. And a lot of financial plans don't account for, what to do when things get hard. So it's not really a willpower thing. It's really a design issue of your plan. That's the problem.
Yeah, and that's what I love about, and why we built our process to work with our clients, because it's not just a singular, the one thing, right? There's a bunch of things we do in our plans. And that's why, most plans out there from traditional advisors are just not optimized, right? Or, excuse me, they're optimized, but they're just not durable. Meaning, okay, I see where I want to go. And I want to start doing that. But the first time the water shifts or the winds blow, right? It creates issues, right? Most plans are built for efficiency, not necessarily, the storms, right? They're optimized for maximum returns. Okay, we want to get the highest returns possible. Perfect contribution schedules, missing, you're never missing a beat. Ideal conditions, meaning, you see a plan, right? The average rate of return, that's a whole other episode, but the average rate of return is X. So this is how long your money is going to be expected to double. And they show you if it does this every year. Well, here's the problem. It doesn't do that every year, right? You got the ups and downs and the waves, and that's why you want to kind of account for that. And there are ways to protect against that, which we've talked about too. But again, it assumes, ideal conditions and consistency as well. And, we even have clients that, they step in and then step back, step in, and it's nice to have that flexibility, but that lack of consistency, isn't accounted for in the overall efficiency type of a plan, right? Durability assumes disruption, right? And that's really what you want to kind of look at. Okay, what happens if, and there's other ways to kind of account for these different things. And that's what we talk about in our planning with regards to emergency fund, things like that. Excuse me. But the difference between a plan that looks good and a plan that holds up is really all about that framework, right? You want a durable financial framework that doesn't break the moment life pushes back. Because here's the reality of it, folks. Life is going to push back, right? And you want a plan that's going to absorb that stress without forcing drastic decisions. You don't want to live a razor thin on maximizing, XYZ to get a return for retirement, or put everything, it amazes me sometimes. I see older people that are in the red zone of retirement still investing their strategies like they're 20. And, it's one little hiccup and all of a sudden everything comes down. And the thing about financial planning, folks, and really building wealth, not just retirement, but building wealth, you don't get a do-over, right? When you hit those retirement years, there's no going back and say, well, let's just add another 20 years. I mean, it's, you're kind of there at that point. And that's really why you want a solid plan that looks at that, and that stability, is what you want in that plan, whether it's good days, bad days, clear skies, stormy skies, or whatever. You want that to be able to have that stability in your plan.
Yeah. Yeah. So that make, manage, multiply framework we talk about is, where we create that stability. So it's not steps you do, we're not baby stepping your way to wealth one step at a time, right? But it's a discipline that operates all together. So when those pressures come, right, your margin from that make section, that make phase we talk about, right? That's about creating increasing income, decreasing expenses. So you have that margin there, can absorb shock, right? And being intentional with that. And then clarity with understanding how your money moves in the manage phase is going to help reduce that panic, because you know what's happening. It's not just, oh, something comes in and now you're at a complete loss, when a financial emergency comes. And then that consistency in the multiply phase keeps time working for you.
Yeah.
So, you talking about people, with these plans, like max out the 401k and then have nothing left for margin in their day to day. So if an emergency hits, then they're stealing from their 401k and their future selves, right? When you don't have that balance and you don't have someone helping you figure out what that looks like, then that's when, those plans just come crashing down and you destroy everything you've built. So, but when you have all three active, no single disruption forces a complete reset. So you might slow down, you might have to rebalance a little bit, but you do not abandon the plan. And so that framework doesn't demand perfection from you. It helps support consistency even when times get stressful.
Yeah, and that's really kind of the signal, that your plan is working, right? You look at, is my plan working? And I'm sure we can all relate to it, right? We've got our life, we got 401k, and we're telling ourselves, oh, that's going to be enough, right? It's all going to work out. And then something happens, job layoff. And that's what happened with me personally. This goes back, I hate to say it, almost 20 years ago. But I got laid off from a job, and I'm like, because I was following the traditional model, there wasn't the margin that we had talked about, and I didn't have other avenues, other safety nets set up. I was just, put it in a 401k. And so when I lost my job and it was all of a sudden, I had a little bit of an emergency fund set aside, and then it was like, okay, panic mode. I got to pull it out. You're paying taxes, you're paying penalties because that wasn't 59.5. But the real signal that your plan is working is money starts to feel quieter. Okay. Even in the storms, it's like, okay, I know I've got my foundation set up. I've got my pillars, all in place so I can weather the storm. Your decisions don't feel rushed. Right? Market headlines don't hijack your emotion. You're not reacting to something you see, on your phone or something somebody told you, or market, oh my gosh, the market's losing, 10% or whatever the case may be. These unexpected expenses also, they don't derail everything. That was just like we were talking about, we got stuck in Utah for a few extra days. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, and it just, you don't panic, you pivot, right? But that calm, it's not by luck, right? It's by design. Okay. And it's not a personality, it's not, you meet some people. I always reference the Big Lebowski, right? The dude, he's just like, hey man, everything's chill. And I've got a friend of mine that reminds me of that guy. And it's always, no matter what happens, that's his personality. Most of us don't have that personality, especially if we're, A-type personality achievers, that kind of thing. And it's not just optimism too. You meet some people that are, it's just blindly optimistic, which is great. But it's really about that calm, right? And you've created that environment, those situations where you're stressed out about living check to check, where you're just kind of like, okay, everything's going well, but you're looking over your shoulder, like just waiting for, the quote unquote other shoe to drop. Right. But it's not about, chasing wealth, and that's what most people think they're doing. They're chasing wealth, but what they're really doing is they're chasing less fragility, right? They want things to be less fragile. And that's where, you get to a certain point in your life. And I think I'm there now. It's like, I just want calm and peace, right? I want my tranquility, not just in my personal life, not just in my work life, but in my financial life too. And I'm here to tell you folks, it's possible, and structure delivers that. A well-structured plan delivers that.
And I want to make a quick comment real quick because I've been seeing this online. Yeah. It's funny because the precious metals have gone up in price. And we've had people come to us being like, should I invest in precious metals? Should I, put my money there? And then I've seen people posting online, oh, gold and silver's at this, hey, jump on a call and learn more, people promoting this stuff. And it's like, and I see all these, like my one friend, and no knocking to them, right? But they're like, oh, we're going to teach what you should do with precious metals. And there were like 300 comments of tell me. And I'm sitting here going, y'all need to, first of all, like you said, it just spiked. Like you wanted to buy this, months or years ago. But anyway, people are just rushing to like plug holes in a plan that has just been piecemealed together instead of truly creating that intention. And you want to build wealth, not out of chaos, right? If you find yourself scrambling to go, oh my God, what's the crypto I need to put my money in? Or what's the precious metal I need to, right? If you're scrambling thinking like, I got to do something quick and I don't want to miss the boat on anything. A lot of times once you hear it, you've already missed the boat, but get a plan in place to make those correct moves,
Yeah. And that's a perfect example too, and it's one of those things that everybody, oh my gosh, I need to get into Bitcoin when it's 113,000. So it's almost, I don't want to say too late at that point, but that's the key of a whole plan, right? I mean, silver yesterday, and it's jumped up. You and I have talked about this, and that's something, when we go through our planning process, we always talk about 5 to 10% in precious metals. Why? Because it's a store of wealth, not necessarily going up in value. But, if you look at silver 6 months ago, June of 25, silver was at $34 an ounce. As of yesterday, it was north of 113 an ounce. So within 6 months, it's, tripled in value. Okay. So people running, hey, I want to put all my money in silver right now. Okay. It's already popped. So, is it going to triple again in the next 6 months? I don't know, but it's one of those things that's why you want to have a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, but also not just on the, divesting your investments, right? You also want to divest your income. You also want to have your fortress around your finances to ride out those storms, so you're not in a reactionary mode. And that's the problem. Okay. And these are the takeaways from today. Most financial plans, especially by traditional advisors, they don't fail because they were poorly designed. They fail because they weren't designed for pressure and they're not holistic. Okay. I want to be clear about that. That's why PITK is different. Smart people don't need more information. I mean, there's a ton of information on YouTube. We put out, videos as well as, thousands of others out there. It's almost too much. It's a little noise, but they need a system that respects reality, right? Respects human behavior and the inevitability of a stressful situation coming in life, because as well as I do, it's going to happen. It's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's when is it going to happen, and it's going to happen multiple times. So your plan needs to be able to ride those storms out, and if you want to see where your current financial plan might be, especially under pressure, we've created a simple place to start, right? And this is the Safe Money Roadmap. You heard us talk about this before. If you've got a planner advisor and, you're like, hey, I want a second opinion, great. We're not looking to replace anybody, but we can work in conjunction with them. Or I don't know about you. I always like a second opinion. If things haven't been going well, if I'm concerned about what would happen if the market dropped. And I'm not talking about, hey, it's long-term, ride it out, right? That's a whole other conversation. But, really looking at, I want a holistic plan that's not only going to grow in the good times, but also in the bad times and protect what I put in there. Accessibility, liquidity, and I want to be able to ride out those storms when things do happen, because like we said, they're going to happen. So simply go to Safe Money Roadmap. But it's not about doing more. It's about building something that holds when life pushes back, because it will. That's structure. So folks, I just want to say thanks again for listening to us and joining us. Do us a favor. If you got some value out of this, give us a little like, subscribe on YouTube. We've got the YouTube channel as well as podcasts on multiple platforms there. So definitely subscribe to that. Give us a thumbs up or a 5-star review. We would greatly appreciate it. And if you've got a topic you'd love to hear, or even come in and talk to your group, like I said earlier, we work with a lot of network marketers. So if you want us to come in and talk to your team about, hey, you're making money, now let's talk about what to do with it. We do a lot of guest speaking too. So Everybody have a great day. Wendy, awesome as ever. And we'll see you next week on another Prosper in the Kingdom. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to Prosper in the Kingdom. If this episode added value to your day, be sure to like and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with someone who could use the encouragement. For more resources, head to prosperinthekingdom.com. Let's continue building lives of purpose and abundance, one step at a time.